on your end?
Hold on, let me change it. How about now?
It sounds about the same. Are you using your USB mic or like the mic built into the computer?
I'm using USB mic, but it might just my air conditioning.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. It just sounds like something running in the background.
Is it better now?
Yeah. All right, it looks like it's working better now. All right, cool. I think we're good. How do I view the chat? Oh, here we go. All right, yeah, I think we're good. Do you want to try to share your screen? You should be able to do everything, I think.
All right, cool.
Let me see.
Where is the chat on Facebook? Where's this?
Yeah, I'll tag you in it real quick. Let me see. It's broadcasting to my Facebook. So I'm just gonna tag you in the post, and that's where you'll be able to read the comments. Chat overlay, what's that? Oh, cool. All right, yeah, it appears to be working. I can see my my comments on the restream also. So looks like we're good to go.
All right, I think I'm doing the share screen thing. Is it working? I think it is. Yeah.
There it is.
All right, let's do this. Okay, so let's take a look at Bitcoin. It's actually been a while since I've looked at it. I've been away and bullshitting, so I haven't really been paying too much attention. But let's take a look at it right now. Obviously, we dumped from the highs, and if you kind of, I had this one chart saved. Let me see if I still have it saved. Load. Did it black out? No, it came out, right?
Nice. No, you're good. Yeah.
All right, cool. So this is the old chart I had, and once we kind of broke out of this parabola, we basically never retested it. I was expecting one more move up, but we didn't get it, and we obviously dropped off. Now let me go back to the other chart because I want to have a clean chart. Okay, so one of the things I was kind of looking at is if you look at the top, we basically topped out in a distribution that you could kind of look at it that it's started over here. So if you take a measurement between here to here, let's say about 129 days, and if you just measure the top, I think it was more like 97 days, if I remember correctly. Around 81 days. Let's just say 90 days because I don't know where I actually got it from, but between 80 to 90 days, right? So about like a 3-month period. So I would expect whatever is going on over here to resolve in about the same amount of time. So I think we've got, another until like August. And that's what I've kind of been saying, throughout the whole summer, we're going to see some choppy price action, and it's going to bore people out. And that's kind of what, we've been seeing this whole time, right?
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, now chart looks like crap, but what I'm seeing is a lot of absorption going on through the lows, and if you look at kind of a weekly chart, I actually don't think we've closed. We spent some time below 34K, but we haven't closed a single day below 34, a single weekly candle below 34,000. And currently, this is the first weekly we have right now that is about to close in a few hours, and we're currently trending below that level. So it'll be interesting to see what we do today. What I would look for is at least a closure above 34. So this wick over here on this doji, that would be kind of a pivot point for me. With that being said, I've been kind of looking at $24,000 as a potential bottom. I've got a few reasons for that. It's better to go on the CME chart for this. So if you go on the CME chart, you have a couple gaps on this chart. I'll look on a daily. Yeah, who knows what's going to happen, right? But yeah, this is the daily chart, and we've got three gaps to stand out. We've got one up here, which is at 58,000. One down here that's between 24 to 25, and there's another one down here between 18 to 19. I have two theories on how these gaps are going to play out. I really don't think we're gonna test this, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit more later, because I keep having this discussion with a lot of people. But in general, I think this is a significant area to pay attention to. Now, what I want to happen now, not necessarily want, but one of the things I'm kind of looking for is another sweep of the lows, something like we saw over here, but more scary. You know what I mean? Like, I want it to actually come down over here and like really freak people out. And if you look at the VPBR, there's like no volume over here. I'm looking at the CME chart, obviously, but there's like no volume over here. And even if you look at the spot chart, that this area between 25, 24K, there's like no action. It's just like that. So that's the reason I kind of look at that area as a point of interest. Now, there's two ways this is going to happen. Either we're not going to make a low over here, we're going to keep ranging and then eventually hit maybe 72K. That'll be an area where if all of this were to resolve to the upside, that's the price I'd be looking at next. Somewhere around 72,000, and I'll explain that a little later. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but if that were to happen, you can't really make calls like this. I would actually say that we'll probably top out somewhere around maybe like 115 or whatever. And I'm getting ahead of myself because you shouldn't be making like predictions or or whatever like 50K above where you are or below where you are. Just, it's pointless. But let's just play around with it. That would give us kind of what you'd be looking for, an 80% drop, right? The 80% drop you would expect from a massive Bitcoin correction that you see throughout all the market cycles, you know what I mean? And if you look at the different market cycles that have happened, that's the kind of move we've gotten. So for us to top out here, let's see what, and this is just based on, like we've already done in the past. We dropped 56 so far, 63 so far, 72 so far, and we would bring it to 13 to hit that 80K mark, right? There's a few reasons I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, anything's possible, but I'll explain why I don't think that's going to happen. So those are the two things I'm saying. And obviously, whatever happens, as long as we go up, this gap or this whatever is going to get closed. And we'll talk about gaps getting closed. And this is the CME chart. So if you're wondering why there's these gaps, this is the futures chart. So you need to look up BTC1 on TradingView. The gap at 20K, I kind of look at it as something if you trade a lot of stocks, if you have experience in equities, it's something called like a professional gap. You know what I mean? And what a professional gap typically means, at least as far as stocks go, it's conviction in the market, conviction in a direction. You would see this kind of move happen on earnings, okay? When something breaks out on like kind of blowout earnings or whatever, you'll see it. You'll see it move out. So I keep hearing this stuff on social media that all gaps are going to close. Like this is like is this myth? No, all gaps do not close. You see a lot of gaps in equities because there's weekends and the market's only like 4 to 9, but then 9 to 4, and then there's after hours. Yeah, crypto screws you up. But and then you have after hours trading, so you'll see a lot of weekly, daily gaps. Those gaps tend to fill because it's just like it's just how the market is. But gaps that are professional gaps, quote unquote, they happen when the market has conviction in something, and those gaps typically don't close unless something huge happens in the market, right? And they have a few different like signatures. They'll typically happen right after a downtrend, and the gap will open above the resistance, and it'll basically trap a lot of shorts, or whatever you want to call it. And Bitcoin's a good example of this. This was like the old high, 20K, whatever. We hit 20K, and then we obviously on the daily chart we basically entered a downtrend, right? You're just going down almost for like 2 weeks, right? And then what do? We gap up above it right at 19K, and you just basically trapped everybody, and then it just goes up. And we go from 19 to what, 64 was it? 67? Holy shit! No, 65. So that's pretty impressive. Now, what do I mean by professional gaps, or whatever I'm talking about? Let's take a look at Amazon. Okay, Amazon's a good one, and you can do this with like many stocks. So anyone that's telling you all gaps have to close and blah blah blah, I don't know what they're talking about. Let's wipe everything out. This is a daily chart, right? Okay, so. Right here. There's many of these, but this is actually the first one. No, this is not the first one. This is one of the lowest ones, actually. You have Amazon that gapped up from 315 to 341 after a pretty big downtrend, and you can actually say it started from here, downtrend, and boom, gap up, never tested it again, right? You have another one right here. And you can call them, small or whatever, but at the time of trading at this price, this was not small, right? And you'll notice something. You see this E? This means earnings. What was I saying? This is when conviction, right? Oh, Jeff Bezos is like, I made $1 billion this quarter. Boom, market goes up. Jeff Bezos says, I made another $1 billion. The market goes up. And you keep seeing this. So why didn't these gaps get filled? Because there was conviction in the market. You know what I mean? And the market is betting that, hey, this is extremely bullish, and we're going. Who has the kind of capital to make these kind of volume prints in the market? The institutions, right? So, Bitcoin doesn't have earnings, but 20K was, if you've been in the market long enough, a major milestone, right? And what do? We put in the same kind of signatures you would see on any kind of good performing equity, another earnings. All I have to do is look for earnings to do this. Look for another earnings, you have a gap. So why, these aren't closing, right? Like you have another one over here. Like we could just keep doing this all the way up to $4,000. These gaps aren't going to close because the market has conviction in Amazon. You can do this with Apple. You can do this with Tesla. You can do this with AMD. AMD is one of my favorite stocks, and you'll see this. And what it basically means is the market has conviction. So that's why I don't think Bitcoin's gonna actually test that 20K area. One of the reasons. Is this still showing the chart? Yeah, it is. Okay. That's one of the reasons. Here's the other thing. There was like this weird like head and shoulder looking pattern over here.
Medusa.
Yeah, well, the Medusa was over here. I mean, like, I saw people like making this some kind of head and shoulder, and I'm like, what is this? You know, this is I mean, I called it a Wyckoff distribution, but I guess, you know, you can make some kind of weird head and shoulder. I mean, this, I guess, you know, this, okay. You know, this one, yeah, but something over here, I don't know what that was. You call it the Medusa, you know, but let's see. Where's that thingy? All right, let's just do this. You know, we'll make the head and shoulder. You know, we got this thing going on, right? This, I would be concerned if you were playing this as a head and shoulder. This wick is kind of scary because if we don't take this out soon, this is kind of a failed pattern, right? Now, typically when you have a head and shoulder pattern on any kind of chart, the way to do it is, you know, you draw it out. You don't need to draw it out. You need to identify it. Then you measure the top to the bottom of the neckline. Then you move the neckline to the breakage of the neckline, and that gives you your target. Well, just based on math, this target is below 0. I'm using a log chart, so it looks crazier.
I was about to say, that thing flying.
Yeah, chart. So I mean, I don't, you know, it's maybe that's a problem if that's gonna happen, right? If this were to fail, though, right? If this were to be a reversal pattern because it failed, it's interesting to me because you get a target of roughly 67. That's the all-time high, but you have to kind of put it a little bit above the most recent shoulder because that's kind of your invalidation point, right? Like, all right, this pattern's not like playing out. So if you kind of put it right there, that's like your real invalidation point, which is like around a little bit above 40K. You're getting targets about like 75K, right? And if you just run, you know, I'm just gonna draw like a little fib. Kind of lines up with these fib levels over here. And if you look at my old chart that I had for a while, based on, I think, let me see, let me delete this. Yeah, it's a pretty, you're basically kind of looking at this next area, you know what I mean? So a lot of things are kind of pointing at that. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, these targets, whatever, obviously we're getting ahead of ourselves. Same thing with, you know, if you're looking for moves down here to, you know, like anything below 20K or whatever. And I'll elaborate a little bit on this 20K thing. Besides the whole thing about professional gaps or whatever, because, you know, Bitcoin's a 24-hour market and the CME is only an American thing. So you can't, you know, like Bitcoin doesn't really care, right? But let's look at because the other thing is if you're looking at a Coinbase chart, let's look at it on a monthly. You can only go back as far as 2015. Probably the Bitfinex chart is going to give you a little bit more data. And if you really want to do like just analysis, the BLX chart will give you like all the history, but it only updates like once a week or something, so it's not good for daily charting. But here's the Bitfinex chart, right? So the Bitfinex chart will go back a little bit further to 2013, but I'm just going to use the BLX chart because I have it done already, and I'll save some time. And you have to look for Brave. Oops. Usually do it on all because a few things come up. Brave. Yeah, I think this is the one.
I think it's the top one. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one. Okay. So this will give you basically the history of all-time history of Bitcoin. And here's the thing, you know, each market cycle has kind of the same characteristics, you know, whatever, it pumps like crazy and then it dumps.
And this is log still.
Yeah, this is log. So you're looking at it from like 0.04 cents. Can you imagine that? You bought Bitcoin at 0.04 cents.
Crazy.
From 0.04 cents all the way to a high of 64, you know? So you're getting a lot of information on this. Now let's check this out. Price range, right? Whatever. I'm just going to measure the dumps because who cares about the pumps, you know? It'll just make you sad. All right. Mm-hmm. What do? We dump 93%, right? on the first cycle, whatever you want to call it. So from the high of June 11th to the low of November 11th, that's not too bad. It was a 93% dump, right? And then what do? We go from almost like a year to break the new high. And then, this particular market cycle is interesting because I think we're doing something similar again here. That's one theory. And what happened on this cycle is you had the first pump, right? That basically broke the old highs, just like we did over here. And then you had a pullback that was pretty big. And then what do? Boom, right? Similar move. So let's just measure this dump. Another like 83% move, right? But notice something. This was the previous cycle high. We don't test it, right? We don't test it because there's still, from here to here, you got another like 80% like cushion almost. I mean, it's crazy numbers. And then from the low of 2014 to the high of 2017, 2018. Yeah. Same thing. You had, let me just move this. Another 83% drop. Another 83% drop, but we don't even test the previous highs, right? So if we were to drop below 20K now, then Bitcoin would be doing something different. It would be doing something new. I don't know. If you're like playing in the markets, you do what probability. Well, if this thing keeps happening, that's what I'm going to bet on. You know what I mean?
And I've heard some people comment on between 2013 and 2014. You know how I did that little retracement, and some people were saying, like you noted, that looked really similar to what we're experiencing now because price almost came back. Like it looked like it wanted to retest previous highs. But it didn't quite get there, and then it shot up to make a new high.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously it were smaller numbers, but I guess it bottomed at what, 50, and your previous high was
30 something,
34. Just say 35, but yeah. And then so unless you're looking at this as a cycle high, which it wasn't because this is the cycle high, you don't test it. You know what I mean? We did come back down to here. And that's the thing. See how I'm saying that?
Go ahead and measure from the top of that wick in the 2013 dip, and see what that pullback is. You see what I'm talking about? At the top?
From this one to here?
Yeah. What's that? So that's still like 70 something %, and we're
like 76.
Yeah, and we pulled back right now. If this is the bottom, we've pulled back like 60 or 70, haven't we? So it's like very similar.
I don't think we've necessarily bottomed. Honestly, I think we're just going to keep going sideways and bore the crap out of people. And that's kind of what we've been doing, like we're trading like we're in a range of like $2,000 for like the last 2 months. You know what I mean? So we should do something different. And I think we are going to get a big move soon. Maybe. I mean, it's the weekend coming up. I would want to see it happen during the weekday. I wouldn't want to see something happen. I wouldn't want to see something major happen during the weekend because weekend moves are always like, I don't know, you can't always depend on them because it's low volume. So I would want to see it happen during the week. Also because every time something big happens during a weekend, you put a gap in on the CME chart and then you have a whole bunch of more memes.
People trying to fill it, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like all sorts of crap. So, I prefer a big move to happen throughout the week, but I think it's coming soon. Volumes pretty down, and it's pretty boring, to be honest. If you're not trading options, it's kind of hard to make money trading this because it's just like sideways, And that's kind of what I think is going on with this. But main thing is, I would want to see a big bounce at 25K if we were to hit it now, 25, 24K. I would want to see a large bounce there. And then, I'm not saying it's not possible that we don't test 20K. Anything's possible. It's a market. it would be something new. It would be something that Bitcoin hasn't done in its previous market cycles, and I don't know. I would rather bet on what it's done before than what it possibly can do.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I think anything under, or like anything in this $30,000 to $40,000 range, I think it's good to just be kind of dollar cost averaging and making small buys like pretty regularly.
Yeah,
I've been
obviously
telling people,
in the lower range, like in this like, because I mean obviously just look at the chart. Yeah, someone's buying. I mean you're seeing
yeah,
on chain thousands of Bitcoin are moving off the exchange. I mean someone's buying this shit, right? And you see it in the charts. Like there's obviously absorption going on below 30K. Like someone's buying this. Will they keep buying? Who knows? But someone is buying this.
I mean, the on-chain data is showing that the people that are selling are people, I guess statistically, the people that are selling are people that bought during the previous run to 65, and they're panic selling now because
most likely they bought
dead.
like somewhere like in this area right around the time when everyone started talking about Dogecoin, because
and there's a lot of data showing that the whale wallets, the hold wallets that historically have bought Bitcoin but haven't really sold that much, are continuing to accumulate at these levels. And we've seen institutions buying it up. Michael Saylor, I mean, others as well, keep buying the dip. And I think that there's a lot of fundamental support for the 30K level. And, I think I agree with you that we could see some kind of like,
I mean, ideally I want to see a sweep of these lows, like this is like, this looks juicy, like just look at it. It's like, I mean, you have professionals in the market, and they're going to want the most profitable entries or whatever, but it's also not supposed to be so obvious. And that's why, 20K, oh yes, like, because everything's so perfect, we're going to touch the old high and give everyone their perfect entries and go up. It doesn't, I mean, I don't think it works that way. It's supposed to freak people out, or.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are bidding. They're going to have limit orders in the 20K area. And I think you're right. Professional traders are going to leave those people in the dust. They're going to come down to like 24-ish. Literally everyone's going to be saying, set your buys for 20. Like that's that's where support's at. Set your buys there. And institutions are going to leave them in the dust. They're going to touch through that 24 range, and it's going to be a liquidity grab for, because when we previously saw that push back to like 29.5 or whatever it was, you can see the big wick where it like did a stop hunt basically. I think I sent you an article about how there was like a record day of liquidations on exchanges. So like I think they're going to keep doing that and getting people liquidated, and then we're going to hit that 24-ish, 25 range and find a lot of support there in institutions, and the whales are going to buy it up really quick. I think it's going to be like a pretty quick dip, and then we might, after that, fall back into the range between 30 to 40 for a little bit longer. But I think the actual dip into the 25 range is going to be pretty quick. It'll probably be like that. It'll be a wick that is on a weekly. That's a month, I guess. But yeah.
Interesting. We've actually, like, just making a measurement of this move, we've kind of like already done this kind of wick on like on the monthly, you know what I mean? And like, like, hold up, let me clean this up a little bit. Get rid of that. Get rid of all this. Let's see something. Just play around with this. So yeah, 41%. Yeah, like let's just say, like, hypothetically, we're like doing some kind of basing out stuff over here, and then we go up. Let's just say we just have like some kind of crazy scam wick like we had in Corona, pandemic dump. But let's see. Let's just have that similar kind of thing. That's the thing. It doesn't. Hold on. That's not right. I want to do it. That's
Should be able to
well.
copy it maybe.
I should just do it by percentage. Hold on. That's
Yeah.
probably a better way to do it. So this was 40%, right? So let's go 40% from here. Let's see where that takes us to. That put us like right at. That would put us right at 21.2. You know what I mean? And that would still be like playing around with like, you know, like screwing people over with like that 20K like perfect entry. You know what I mean? And is it possible?
I mean, I think we could throw some wicks into that area, but I think that on higher time frames, like on a weekly, we're just going to leave wicks in those areas. Like, I don't think there's going to be much structure that actually stays in the 20s. I think it's going to be like a big fat wick on the weekly or the monthly, and then a continuation to the upside. Because, and I mean, we've talked about this a little bit in the past, where what we saw at the $65,000 range wasn't like a blow off, right?
Yeah,
which is typically what indicates like a cycle, a cycle end. It's like in 2017-18, we saw like a really aggressive blow off top, and then a pretty steep
and the thing is,
it.
It's almost like the signature of these cryptos. Even the alts, you know, when they're having their crazy moves, it's just how they all die. You know, they have that like crazy blow off, and that wick comes in, and that's it. It's just like it's a signature move, you know, and you see it on almost every single top. You know, like you had it over here, like you wick on, and then boom, that was a blow off. Even when we had that mini rally up to 14K, I remember that was pretty fun. We had another one, you know what I mean? And then, I don't know, it's Coinbase chart. I don't know if you can go that far. But yeah, you know, every single major top is kind of like on some kind of blow off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have this kind of move. Typically, when you see some like drawn out stuff like this on Bitcoin, you have continuation. You know what I mean?
Right. We consolidated at the top before pulling back,
and I mean, even this is pretty like, this was probably looking sketchy. You know what I mean? Like it was at 3K, it bottomed at 1,700. I mean, that's enough to like freak a lot of people out, right? So I mean, but usually whenever I've seen Bitcoin do some kind of weird stuff like this, it drops, but you typically end up, you know, rallying over time. But the moves that usually signature the start of like a real downtrend that's going to go on for like a 2-3 year period usually ends in some kind of this kind of signature. You know what I mean? You have this blow off top. And that's
I'm still kind of skeptical. We're even going to see the same kind of bear markets going forward with all of the strong fundamental stuff that's going on. Like every single day, it feels like there's.
I mean, you'll probably still see it. I mean, I don't know. I just think Bitcoin will probably over time look like the Dow Jones or something, where it's just this like long sideways trend. If you look at it on like a monthly chart, like look at the Dow Jones.
I'm not saying there's not going to be pullbacks, but I don't know that there's going to be like, I don't think the next bear market's going to last like 2 or 3 years personally, but we still know it. Again, that's all speculation, but it's just interesting to me that, you know, how quickly adoption is rising. We've got countries supporting Bitcoin now. I mean, we've got institutions buying it up. And the on-chain data just has so much strong fundamental stuff going on. And I think it's interesting that the China FUD this time around was like pretty perfectly timed. And now that we're kind of getting through that and a lot of the hash is coming out of China and kind of distributing around the world, I think people are looking at it with a more bullish light now, because initially people were panicking. It's like, why are you panicking about this? But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't think by a long shot, like Colin just said in the chat, I don't think by a long shot the bull run's over. Definitely not. I think we're accumulating. I think Kazi's idea that we might do a liquidity grab and kind of stop hunt into the mid-20s is pretty realistic. I think people should expect it. I'm accumulating some of my stronger alts at these levels. I expect them to go a little bit lower, but I'm mostly just buying into stuff that I'm very fundamentally, bullish on, or things that I can actually do something passive with. Like I'm accumulating DOT and Kusama because there's parachain auctions going on with Kusama at least.
Let's take a look at
I'm
KSM. It's been a while.
I'm accumulating a lot of Luna, which I just had talked to you about, Kaz, because they're still doing
Yeah.
the weekly airdrops to stakers. Like, if I can stake 10 grand worth of Luna and get basically weekly airdrops from a dozen projects, like that just makes sense to me to accumulate at these levels. So I mean, I'm doing that. I'm picking up Cake just because of the 100% APY. I can just throw it in an auto compounder. Like I'm doing that kind of stuff at these levels because it just makes sense to me to accumulate stuff that I can throw into a passive income stream. You looking at KSM? Yeah. KSM looks pretty good. I mean, a lot of these alts I still think could go a little bit lower, and I think we've talked a little bit about that. You know, they still follow Bitcoin pretty closely, I think.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I can see two things happening with these alts. I don't think necessarily that alts have bottomed. I do think there's going to be some short term because people are bored, you know, like Bitcoin's not
It's
doing
funny.
anything.
The DOT and KSM charts are like identical. It's funny.
Yeah, I would like kind of look at these areas over here because I think I think we're gonna see a large move on Bitcoin very soon in like the next 2 weeks, and I think up or down, there's a good chance that initially it's gonna have alts dip, and I'm pretty sure you know what kind of move I'm talking about, where you just see like Bitcoin goes up and the alts just sell off like crazy. Or Bitcoin goes down and alts sell off like crazy. And those are usually like the best times to buy. But in order to know to buy, you kind of have to, you know, have a plan for it ahead of time, right? And I would kind of look in between these two areas right here. Like if I had to just put it in the middle, like $11, you know, just like have some like orders like fishing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of probably what I'm going to do. Although I did ape into EOS today, which wasn't a bad move.
I've still got my moon bag of EOS. I'm just gonna hold it. I just set it aside, dude. I'm just gonna hold it forever and see what happens with it.
You know, EOS chart is a good case study, I would say, because I kind of feel like what you're seeing over here on big, like you see this like really annoying sideways movement, and this is obviously on the 3-day chart, but doesn't this look like what Bitcoin's doing right now? You know what I mean? And this is usually like kind of signs of accumulation where you just have these long drawn out moves, and then you make a lower high, and then you wick down, and you think it's gonna die, and then it gets bought up, and then it just comes back into the range. You know what I mean? And then it does it one more time. I think if you were to just kind of have this kind of image on what's going on Bitcoin right now, maybe on a lower time frame, you'd probably be on the same page as the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that any of these alts that you're really fundamentally bullish on, like you can't go wrong at these levels if you have a long-term mindset. And the stuff that's going on, I don't know if you're keeping up with parachains or not, but the stuff that's going on there is like pretty interesting right now. And I've been buying up KSM for a few months during this dip so that I could you know, basically delegate it out to the parachain auctions. And it's just like I feel like the most exciting stuff to do in crypto is not just to like buy it and hold it. I want to buy it and like use it how it's meant to be used.
You gotta play with this stuff, you know. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's exciting too, and the same thing with meme, right? Like you scammed me into buying meme at 2,000 a piece. Like I'm not. It's like I'm not even mad because like I've been like getting stuff out of it. You know?
It's not my fault you waited like 4 months, man. I told you I had $200.
I mean, I had some, but then I mean, I'm holding 5 meme or whatever. But dude, I do like that meme is starting to do more sales that are just pineapple only. I guess they stopped doing some of the ETH extra on it. Like I don't know if you've been keeping up with like the blockchain times or whatever, but every week they're dropping basically like a newspaper type article.
Those are kind of cool. I haven't been keeping up with them all, but those are kind of cool to have. Just, you know.
Well, yeah, I just like that I can just park my meme in the I can just park my meme in that pool, and every Monday I can pick it up for basically just the cost of the transaction, because they don't charge any additional Ethereum, and those are already like fetching some decent money. So like every Monday I just pick it up, like
Oh yeah,
the article that they have, and
I
definitely check
probably
it out.
have
It's pretty
to.
cool.
Yeah, I probably have to move my meme then because I haven't been playing around with that stuff too much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would just say make sure you have it parked in something that's like making regular releases, because what I was doing before was kind of jumping from pool to pool, but you pay a lot in gas that way, obviously. But I like that I
yeah,
can just leave it in one pool and it just kind of accumulates. I have like 300 pineapples for the daily block times or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's just like stuff like that is exciting to just like use, right? Like it's not just about holding it for the money. It's like you want to actually be able to use it. So that's what I like about Luna, because like you can contribute to the ecosystem. You can delegate out to your favorite um, validators, kind of like Tezos, and yeah, it's just like it's a fun time. So I would just say, like, especially during times like this, just accumulate the projects that you actually like and use them, how they're meant to be used. And KSM and Dot doesn't have
yeah,
any parachains active yet,
yeah.
but
Honestly,
KSM,
right, a lot of like potentially good projects that you can farm right now. It's probably not the worst thing to do because if you understand a lot of this farming stuff, like I guess your risk towards impermanent loss aren't that high, possibly depending on what you're putting
hmm
your money into, because they're pretty much just ranging. And if you kind of like sushi's a great example. If you farmed it through the time it spent, it was bottomed out and held on, like holy
Speaking of
crap, you know what I mean?
sushi, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the vesting, the reward unlock, but like every month I'm getting like $1,000 worth of sushi for whatever we did like a year ago.
Yeah,
And so you might want to
that
like
sushi
check
thing
on
is
that
pretty
and like,
cool.
yeah, check the vesting unlock on that. But um, I don't know if you ever got around to looking into Thorchain, but Thorchain also has impermanent loss protection on their platform, which basically it works like after 90 days of having the LP, if you are not net positive with impermanent loss taken into account after 90 days, if you pull out, they compensate you for the loss in Rune. So essentially, like it's like zero risk to use their platform for LPs, which they still haven't raised the cap. So like that's the only thing I'm waiting on. Every time they raise the cap, it fills within like 5 minutes, and I keep missing out on the ability to get into it. But pretty cool. I mean, you can park your Bitcoin in there for 25% APY and have all of this security and protection. I mean, I can provide a liquidity position for Bitcoin to Ethereum on Thorchain. It's just like crazy to me. Um, but yeah, pretty cool stuff going on over there. I would definitely keep up with it if you haven't already. And I don't know if you looked at Thor Starter, but I'm probably going to throw a little bit of money in that too.
See, like, so yeah, no, definitely with Rune. I haven't been keeping up with it lately, but I haven't been keeping up with any of the projects lately. Honestly, I've been in
Yeah.
La La Land. I'm just like
Oh,
getting
yeah.
back into it. But this is what I was talking about on Bitcoin. We haven't closed any weekly below 34, and I don't think the weekly on CME closed yet. And we're starting to, like pump above 34 right now. So I want to see how this plays out because we keep doing this every week, and I mean it's got to break one of these days. You know what I mean?
hmm
So yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, I've been looking. The only other thing I've been doing a lot of digging into lately is how the insurance coverages for DeFi protocols works. The ins and outs of like Nexus protocol and stuff like that. And
mm-hmm.
pretty cool stuff happening across all that, because in a world where you can take 100 grand, put it in a stable coin, park it in a DeFi protocol for 20, 40, 50% APY, insurance for 2% of the deposited amount with something like Nexus against like loss. The only stipulation is some of these, like Nexus, don't insure you against depegging of the stablecoin, so you got to watch for that. But you know, that's just crazy to me, like the direction everything's going. If I can put 100 grand into a stablecoin, insure it, and get 30% APY on it, and like a fixed rate APY, it's crazy. It's like crazy times to be alive. And the Anchor protocol is a good one for that, because it's a fixed rate at 20%.
Is this the same Anchor that you can? That's the BSC validator.
No, different Anchor. Go to anchorprotocol.com real quick.
Okay.
I think it's I think it's .com, not .io. Yeah, type in Anchor Protocol.
Let's go through CoinGecko.
It's ANC.
ANC.
Mm-hmm.
So,
There it is. Yep. So this is one of Terraform Labs projects. So the company that's building Luna is also building Anchor alongside it in the ecosystem. But if you go into the D app, you can see that first of all, like, their website is just so pleasant. Like, you land on it and it feels like something that was built by Apple. Like, it just feels like such high quality. This feels like the kind of thing that is going to attract institutional investors into decentralized finance. But anyway, 19.46%. So their objective is to have a fixed rate at 20%, so you can park your UST and get a stable 20% APY against that against the stablecoin. And you know, chart looks decent. It's held up pretty well against all this. But I just picked up more Anchor. I'm just like so incredibly bullish on these Terra ecosystem protocols. Anchor and Mirror protocol is the other one, which is dealing with synthetics for stocks. Like, you can trade Apple and Amazon and stuff like that via the Mirror protocol. But just such cool stuff going on here. I've got the LP going. I've got my leftover Anchor just staking for like I think it's like what, 5% AP for the smaller amount. But the only thing I haven't looked into that you're looking at right now is that I think it kind of works similarly to Ramp, where you can essentially, I need to look more into it, because I've read that it's better than Ramp in the sense that you can borrow against your whatchamacallit, but
don't they have a UST pool? They did, right? Oh yeah.
Yeah, UST. What is the percentage on that? It's pretty low, right?
13.9. It's not too bad. But UST and BUSD, so it's just stables.
Yeah,
It's
just
not
stables. Where was I looking at? Look at a Mirror protocol real quick if you haven't before, because I think you'll like Mirror since they're doing synthetics. It's MIR.
This one.
Yep, that's it. You'll have to launch their app as well. I think they have like a separate app, but super cool stuff going on here too. How they it's working a lot like synthetics. Is that what it's called? Synthetics or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like that, but it's obviously on Cosmos. So Terra's blockchain is built on Cosmos, but they have like obviously their own ecosystem going on. But pretty cool stuff. I mean, I think that we all agree that kind of the future of where stock trading, I think, is going to go is to have these assets pegged and traded on the blockchain rather than through the books like they currently are.
Yeah, I think so. It makes it more efficient.
Just the natural progression of where things are going to go, I think.
All right.
But again, just for staking Luna, right? So I'm getting paid to stake my Luna, and I get weekly airdrops of Anchor and Mirror just for like participating in the ecosystem, which I know there's other projects that are doing it similarly to that. But that's why I like Terra so much. It's just like, it feels like such high quality things being built, and if I can get weekly airdrops, I mean, it's not much, right? It's like $10 a week or something, but it's something. And as the ecosystem builds out, I'm going to get more and more from different projects that are being built on it.
Yeah, no, if you're just
So,
if
I
you're
dig
just
it.
holding this, just I have like a bunch of coins that I just threw in like farming pools or whatever, and I haven't even looked at it in a while. Just like let it do its thing.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Let's wrap it up today. But this was fun. Should do it again.
Sounds good. Yep.
All right.
Thank you, everyone that came by. And we're going to try to do this more often. Just get on here and talk crypto. So see you guys on the next one.